in and out of season. Kahit feel man or hindi. We have to realize that this attitude of volunteerism, having the volunteer spirit, is a more authentic and credible expression of a grateful heart. Yes, importante ang presensya natin. And I'm so glad to see so many people here today. But it's not just our presence that shows our gratitude to God. It is our participation. It is doing what we can for the ministry. Dito sa buhay ng demoniac, Gadarene demoniac, nakita po natin this sense of volunteerism. Pero balikan muna natin yung kwento niya. This man was living in a very miserable condition. Bakit? Ikaw kaya may isang batalyon ng mga demonyo. Do you think your life would be easy? Of course not. Isa nga lang eh. Parang hindi mo na kaya. Ano pa kaya isang batalyon? It's funny, but yes, this is the kind of life this man was living with. And hindi lang po yun. Dahil sinasapian po siya, he cannot live with his family. He is not accepted in his community. Kaya nga sa sementeryo na lang po siya nakatira. Or sa bundok, o kung saan man na hindi siya maging salot ng lipunan or makakasakit ng kapwa. And maybe, if we think about it, this man, every day asked, bakit pa ba ako nabubuhay? Siguro mas maganda kapag namatay na lang ako. He seemed to have a very hopeless life. Yet, one day, Jesus met him. One day, Jesus made that long journey to his hometown. And long story short, Jesus healed this man and delivered him from his misery. My dear friends, the gift of healing and deliverance is the reason for this man's deep gratitude to Jesus. Jesus made this man's life, broken life, whole. By giving him freedom from the demon possession, pinagkalooban ang taong ito ng pag-asa. A new beginning, a blessing. And this blessing overwhelmed his heart with thanksgiving and gratitude to God. But the point here, my dear friends, is not just the freedom he had received, the healing he had received. The point here is that what did the man do in response to the healing? In gratitude for what Jesus did for him. Mababasa po natin in verse 18 what this man did. Allow me to read. Nang pasakay na si Jesus sa bangka, nagmakaawa ang lalaking pinagaling ni Jesus na payagan siyang sumama sa kanya. I'd like to underline the word nagmakaawa. In English, this man begged to follow Jesus. How many of us, when we received healing, when we received blessing from God, nagmakaawa tayo kay Lord, Lord, gamitin mo ako. Salamat, Lord, kaya dito na ako. Sige na, Lord, use me for your ministry. Tingnan mo yung katabi mo. Do you think she begged God to be used for his ministry? Of course, we cannot tell just by looking. Yet here, my dear friends, we have to realize that our gratitude, hindi siya nagtatapos sa bibig. Nakikita po siya talaga sa gawa. This man, out of his great and deep gratitude, offered to travel Jesus and his disciples as they went from village to village, from town to town. Hindi niya alam kung saan pupunta si Jesus. Hindi siya binigyan ng itinerary. Basta, sasama lang siya. Yun yung alam niya. How many of us have that kind of attitude every Sunday? Di mo alam kung ano mangyayari, pero sinabi mo kay Lord, sige na Lord, I'm ready. Whatever the ministry is, whatever you want me to do today, handa po ako. This man had the attitude na gagawin ko ang lahat. Kahit tagapagluto, tagabitbit, water boy, happy na po ako, Jesus. Basta kasama kita sa paglilingkod. The point here, my dear friends, is that this man wanted to be of service to Jesus and the disciples as they went around for mission, kahit ano pa at kahit saan pa yun. Can we please read this verse, this sentence?
When the heart is grateful, it volunteers to serve.
Yes, my dear friends, when our heart is grateful, especially grateful to God, we are ready, willing to serve Him. And we find means and ways to be of service to God. There was once a story of a slave who was bought out of slavery by another man. Upon paying the price, the slave was given to the new master, together with yung certificate of ownership. Then the new master told the slave, "Hindi kita kailangan. Pwede ka nang umalis kasi you're free." And pinunit niya yung certificate of ownership. Sabi ng bagong master, "Go, enjoy your freedom." Kung kayo kaya ang slave na yun, how would your response be? Or what would your response be? Siyempre, tuwang-tuwa, right? Or mag-iisip ka, saan ako pupunta ngayon? Malayang-malaya na ako. I can do whatever I want. Yet do you know what happened? Or what was the response of the slave? This slave, out of his gratitude, decided to stay and serve the master who gave him his freedom. Sabi po niya, "Salamat at binili mo ako and gave me my freedom. But please, let me stay and serve you as long as I live." Isn't this a beautiful story of service out of gratitude? Isn't this a story that is similar to ours? We were once slaves of sin, yet through Jesus we were bought and given freedom. Pinunit ang ownership of sin in our lives. Yet how many of us responded in the same way as a slave? Hindi po ako alis. I will serve you. The problem with many Christians, my dear friends, is that kailangan pa lagyan ng pressure. Kailangan pa, quote-unquote, i-guilt tripping. Kailangan pa palalahanan 100 times yung ginawa ni Lord para sa atin, para sa ating kaligtasan, sa ating freedom, before we can serve wholeheartedly, before we can actually volunteer to serve willingly and with a smile. This healed, demon-possessed man should be someone na dapat tinutularan. Because his heart was grateful, he volunteered to serve Jesus. We have been freed. We have been healed. Like this man, so may we also learn to serve and volunteer to serve God with all willingness. Pangalawa, a grateful heart does not only volunteer to serve. But a grateful heart also learns and knows how to obey or submit to Christ's commands. Mababasa po natin in the verses 19 to 20 kung ano po yung response ni Jesus sa request ng taong ito. And actually, interesting ang response to Jesus. Pero bago yun, allow me to remind us of what obedience is. Obedience, my dear friends, is another authentic expression of gratitude. And may nabasa nga akong isang quote that in God's love language, obedience is equal to love. Hindi po pwedeng nating sabihin na mahal natin ang Diyos pero hindi tayo handa sumunod. We cannot say to God, Lord, or God, I love you, pero gagawin ko yung gusto ko. Lord, alam ko na mahal mo ako at mahal na mahal din kita. Pero parang mas mahal ko ang sarili ko. Or mas mahal ko siya. Sino man yun. Obedience is easy to do when things go ayon sa ating kagustuhan. Obedience is easy to do when it is done without so much effort. Obedience is easy to do when it is something that we also want to do. Pero papaano kung may hindrance? Papaano kung mahirap? Papaano kung kailangang mag-sacrifice? Will we still be willing to obey? Balikan po natin yung response ni Jesus. Mababasa po natin dyan, and let me read the Tagalog version. Pero hindi pumayag si Jesus. Sinabihan niya ang lalaki, umuwi ka na at sabihan mo ang mga kamag-anak mo kung gaano kalaki ang ginawa ng Panginoon para sa'yo at kung gaano siya nahabag sa'yo. And kaya pumunta ang lalaki sa Decapolis para ikwento sa mga tao kung ano ang ginawa ni Jesus sa kanya. Bumilib ang lahat sa kwento niya. Here we see, my dear friends, that Jesus denied the request of the man. Sa totoo lang, it's quite hard to understand kung bakit siya hindi pinayagan ni Jesus na sumama. Andiyan na siya eh. Handang-handa na siya tumulong, sumama, ibigay yung buhay niya. And I'm sure Jesus needed people